Today's fast-paced, stressful world is often challenging, to say the least. But for more than 18 million people suffering from depression, just coping with the struggles of everyday life can be debilitating. And experts say women are much more prone to suffering from depression than men. But there is hope. More people are now living happier, more productive lives, empowered by new medical discoveries and inspiring stories like this one. Meet Kathy Lewis Purton. On the outside, you see a successful career woman, a loving wife and mother. But on the inside is a woman who's battled extreme emotional highs and lows for more than 45 years.
I have struggled with depression, I would have to say, since my early teens. Not wanting to get up in the morning. I was not a happy person. Food became an addiction for me, from bulimia to anorexia.
In college, Kathy began using alcohol and drugs as her loneliness and isolation intensified. Despite her struggles, Kathy led a functional life. She developed a successful, rewarding career, and she got married. And her dream of having a family came true when she adopted her daughter.
It was when I had to go back to work and the stress and the emotions started to set in.
She consulted a new doctor. He blamed her troubles on hormones and prescribed an antidepressant for it.
He made me feel as if it was all my fault and said that I better go on these drugs or else I would jeopardize my marriage.
It made me feel angry that I couldn't help her, and it would give me a feeling of inadequacy.
This man has been my rock. He has been the person who, no matter what, unconditionally has loved me.
Kathy was finally correctly diagnosed with depression, but the diagnosis launched a 17-year roller coaster of prescription medications.
That was excruciating for me and my family, excruciating for work because I was no longer balanced. I was inconsistent.
Can't agree to that, no.
I've worked with Kathy for about 12 years. I noticed that she was very emotional. She would cry at work. She just couldn't catch her bearings.
Then, just a few short months ago, at age 57, Kathy's doctor prescribed a new antidepressant drug. This time, Kathy felt a big difference.
I was starting to feel good. I was starting to feel as if for the first time I was focused, I was better, but I was tired. And the doctor said to me, I want you to try this. And she gave me a product called debilitating. It seemed to make the antidepressant for the first time, for me, work. I was feeling less tired, more focused.
I've seen such great changes in Kathy. She's happy, she's not emotional, she's focused, and she's doing great.
For someone who's never been balanced, I would have to say for the first time in my life I was feeling balanced.
Well, I've seen her moods improve. She has been more on a level, good level. She's happier.
What?
It's not just the energy. I have more willingness to live. Let's face it, I'm not thinking about death. I'm thinking about life, and I'm thinking about how much better my life can be and will be.
Wow, what an inspiring story. Kathy was brave enough to share 45 years of extremely private struggles so openly with us. She said she did this so what's helping her might help others. And here to explain more about depression and the prescription medical food helping Kathy is Dr. Thomas Schwartz, Associate Professor of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences from Upstate Medical University. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Great, thank you for having me.
Doctor, we mentioned earlier that some 18 million people suffer from the devastating symptoms of depression. Aren't women more likely to be affected?
Yes, well, about 2/3 of the people who suffer from depression are women, and there are several reasons for that. One certainly is estrogen and other hormones that fluctuate more so in women than men. I think women go to see their doctors more often and are more likely to talk about their symptoms and really will get the diagnosis more quickly and more often. But oftentimes there's an imbalance of neurotransmitters or chemicals in the brain. And if really those get out of order, parts of the brain can't communicate well with each other anymore, and depression may result from there.
And we learned that Kathy struggled with depression since she was in her teens. So how treatable is this?
Well, depression comes in many shapes, forms, and variety. And I would suggest maybe about 1/3 of my patients will do very well. They'll be in remission, they'll have a full recovery. About 1/3 of my patients will have a partial response where they'll do reasonably better, but they're truly not well yet. And I think, unfortunately, 1/3 of my patients will do poorly. They really won't respond to treatment. Many people with depression feel as though they brought it on themselves. There's some shame and guilt about having this illness. There are many causes of it, somebody's psychology, the stress in their life, but we also need to remember about 1/3 of depression is caused by genetics, so it's your DNA and what you inherit from your parents and your grandparents.
Well, Kathy may not know what caused her depression, but she says Deplin is making a dramatic difference in her treatment. So what is it?
Deplin is a prescription medical food, and when taken with an antidepressant, may improve its benefit. Deplin is a nutrient essentially for the brain. L-methylfolate is required if you want to make more brain chemicals or neurotransmitters. Deplin should help the brain's ability to make more of these chemicals, and then the person's antidepressant should stand a better chance of working as it has more chemical to work with.
What sort of side effects can Deplin actually have?
Interestingly, it doesn't seem to be associated with some of the typical side effects of antidepressants, such as weight gain or sexual problems.
And who's most likely to benefit from taking it?
The patient most likely to benefit from taking Deplin is one that's already on a prescription antidepressant. And unfortunately, many people on their antidepressant only get partially better. They will tell me they're crying less, they're less sad, they feel less guilty. However, they still have problems with things like memory, focusing, concentration. They may feel fatigued. I think Deplin can be used to help patients complete their recovery in regards to these symptoms.
Doctor, this is definitely encouraging news for so many people. To find out more, just go to Deplin.com and discuss it with your doctor. And Dr. Schwartz, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.